On behalf of the Huntington Beach Seal Beach chapter, I want to welcome all visitors, Surfrider members, and Corps volunteers who are here with us tonight. We have a great evening of trash ahead. Trash talk, trash everything. Well, not really. But first, I just want to remind you that, like Bill said, you are all on mute right now, because of how many people are in the house. When it comes time, like Bill said, also at the very, very end, if we have time to talk about things and you want to really, dive into some things, we can, unmute yourself for that. But if you have questions of the speakers tonight, please feel free to put them in the chat box. Roberta Wainashi, who is the co-chair of the chapter here with myself, she is going to be culling the questions, and she'll be the one that asks them of the speakers when they finish presenting. Tonight, you're going to hear from Edison High School and Fountain Valley High School about what they're doing at the club level on campus to keep the mission going during these COVID times, which is fantastic. You're going to hear from an exciting new company here in town. They've been here for several years, but they finally are just putting out a brand new product. You're going to hear from one of the co-founders, Marcus Eriksen, who will tell you about their amazing new product that will replace traditional plastics. And you're going to hear all about that. And Jeff Kaufman is going to introduce him. Finally, you'll hear from the man himself, Captain Charles Moore, who discovered the Great Pacific Garbage Patch out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So without further ado, what I am going to do so we can get right to it, we are going to start with our representatives from the Fountain Valley High School Surfrider Club there on campus. And they're going to be talking about what they are doing for a year-long project there on campus in regards to ocean-friendly gardens. And then from there, we'll move to Edison. But right now, I'm going to turn it over to, let's see, who's in there? Who's going to be talking? Grace, is that going to be yourself for Fountain Valley? Let me unmute you here. Grace, are you going to be talking for Fountain Valley or Simone?
Both of us are.
Oh, excellent. Well, here, let me just unmute both of you guys. So you're both unmuted. So I'm going to turn it over to Bill. He's our AV guy in the background. So he's going to put the presentation up there on the screen and allow you guys an opportunity to talk. So Bill, you want to take it away?
There we good. We good up there?
You got it.
Oh, okay. So I'm Simone. I'm co-president at the Fountain Valley High School Surfrider Foundation Club. And so here on our first slide, we just have a general map of our school. And if you can see in the back in green, it's behind the History 500 halls. That's where we're hoping to put our ocean-friendly gardens. There's like a nature walk, as we call it there. So we're really excited about that. Next slide, please.
Sure, this is the one with the video. Let's see.
Yeah. And here's just like a little tour of the...
Hi, Tony. So this is the 500 bungalows. And then we have the garden area right there where Garden Club works. And this is the nature walk area. So it's the blue gates between the 500 bungalows. And this is where Ecology Club does most of our work and events. So I'm gonna open this. Oh gosh. There we go. This gate is okay. There we go. Okay, so right when we enter, we have like this big pathway, and obviously it's concrete, so there's not much to be done here. And then we have a little aquaponics thing going on, and then to the left side we have fig trees, and then there's not much space for here to have the ocean-friendly gardens. There is this big block though. There is this big block. So this is when we turn to the left, and this is on our right side. This is one block we have available between the pipes. We can't really interfere with that. And then there's a unit. So this is measured out. And this is our softball field to the side, to the left side. Let's see. So this area gets a lot of morning sun, but once it hits the afternoon, it's pretty shaded. And then this is the second block Ms. Baddock was talking about, where it's pinned here. It is longer in length, for sure. And then again, the forklift has to travel in this area, so. And it's marked off right here. So this whole area. And then there's an area back here, however, units have to be reachable, and then also there's like, I believe, some electrical thing right there. And then we have some plants that are sprayed with pesticides, so it's dying. And then this is, side note, this is not relevant to the actual location and nature of the nature walk area, but these are some blocks we painted, and that is another project that's happening with the Ecology Club, and we would love to be able to utilize that for a pathway in this area. So hopefully this video wasn't too bad and you got a good idea of what this area looks like. It's pretty sizable. So that is it. Bye, Tony. Hi, Tony.
Hi, I'm Grace. I'm the other co-president. And yeah, okay, so this was just a quick sketch we made of the nature walk. And those are our three options for where to put the ocean-friendly garden. Next slide, please. So yeah, here we put some pictures of the areas where we could put the ocean-friendly garden. So the first one is the longest, and it's also the shallowest. And the second one is, it's pretty long, but it's also a little deep. And these two areas don't receive as much sunlight as the third area, which you can see in the picture is the brightest, and it's marked by the two wheelbarrows. And yeah, and then the two pictures on the bottom are different angles of the third location where we could put an ocean-friendly garden. And obviously we would take out all the plants in the first one. And yeah, we're hoping to make it look a little nicer because right now it doesn't look too pretty. Next slide.
And then, so this is just an infographic, and it shows all the different benefits of having an ocean-friendly garden, mostly because it's ocean-friendly, so we're really excited about that, and it helps keep our local waters clean. Yeah, next slide, please.
And these are some pictures of past ocean-friendly gardens that have been done, and yeah, we're looking at these for inspiration. So yeah, that's pretty much all we have.
That's awesome. If I can just ask a question, you guys selected this as a project that's going to take you through the year. How come you decided on this rather than something else environmental?
Well, Ecology Club reached out to us saying that they wanted to work on a garden, and they've heard that Surfrider does ocean-friendly gardens, so we thought it would be a really great opportunity to work with another club on campus with similar environmental goals as us, as well as to do something that is part of Surfrider's goals.
Right on. That's awesome. I know you've been working closely with Tony Soriano on this, and I know that Tony, did you want to tell everyone a little bit about this project and the one coming up here in Huntington Beach?
Yes, I'm really happy to hear from Grace and Simone about wanting to do this. They're very excited about it. Again, taking that walking tour the other day, putting together the slides of the concept of what they'd like to see. Hopefully everybody got an idea of what their plans are. I'm going to be working along with them. We also have two landscape architects that will be helping out with probably the design and with the input there from the students at Fountain Valley, as well as working with Moon Valley Landscape to probably get some plants donated to us or at minimal cost. So I think this is going to be an exciting project for the for the entire year. And taking some ownership to this is going to be a very, I guess, project that you can have lots of pride in. So that's what's going on there. And the other thing that we're doing is we do have a project which came out of actually headquarters, and we're doing 5 locations over at Dog Beach. So we're going to try to enhance the area. Most of you folks that surf, you know where Dog Beach is. So look for that. I'm going to be needing volunteers. So we'll be using the same type of concept of getting plants out there that are drought tolerant and also eco-friendly to our waterways there at the cliffs. So look forward to that project.
That's awesome. Thanks, Tony. Thank you, ladies from Fountain Valley High School, my alma mater. So appreciate you presenting, and I hope that that project goes well for you. Next up on the agenda, we do have Edison High School, who's, for those who don't know, aren't from the area, is Fountain Valley's arch rival. So they have their Surfrider club led by Kanani Mercer, and I'm not sure, Kanani, who's going to be presenting with you this evening, if it's going to be Emma or Miranda, but I'm going to turn it over to our AV specialist right now, who is Bill, and he'll get your presentation set up. But did you guys want to unmute yourselves and introduce yourselves to the group?
Yes, thank you. Okay, so I'm Kanani, and I'm a senior at Edison this year, and I have a few board members here. I think my dog, I'm so sorry. Okay, I think the VPs are gonna introduce themselves now.
I'm Emma, and I'm co-VP.
And I'm Miranda, and I'm also co-VP. And I'm Erin, and I'm the treasurer.
And then I'm Megan, and I'm the secretary.
Right on.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's it.
Awesome.
Perfect.
You ladies ready for slides then?
Yes, please.
All right. Thank you very much. Coming right up.
Thank you. Okay, I just wanted to start off by saying a really good job to Fountain Valley Surfrider. That idea looked super awesome. I didn't know you guys were doing that, so I'm really excited to see it come together. That looked super cool. Okay, so anyways, this is our presentation for Edison Surfrider. Thank you. Okay, so a little bit about what we've done this past year. Twice a week, we do Blue Water Task Force water testing in our innovation lab at our school. So we get the water from the surf team, and we'll explain that a little bit in the video in the upcoming slide, but we do that twice a week typically, and we test the amount of Enterococcus in the water sample near our school. And then we obviously do beach cleanups quite often, and we keep up with our awareness using Instagram posts. And then looking at the right picture, this was prep for our Chargers coastal cleanup. And I wanted to start this kind of as like an annual tradition for our school. So that was the first one. This was in February, I believe, right before our schools got shut down. But that was us making posters for it. And I think we had about like 30 students come from our school, which was pretty cool. And we did like a little raffle and stuff for the people who came. And then this was just a few weeks ago. We did attended to a Halloween cleanup, and that was Mr. Faulkner dressed as a In-N-Out worker, and we just went as the board. And then on the left, we have our first meeting via Google Meet. So that's what we did for our first meeting this year. We just kind of informed the new club members. I think we have about 30 right now. So yeah, we're really excited, but we kind of informed them about plastic pollution and why we really wanted to do what we're doing today for Edison Surfrider. Okay, here's our video.
Hey guys, I'm Jaslyn. I'm Megan. I'm Emma. And we're here at the Seal Beach River Jetty today, and we're really excited to be here and social distance from each other, but still like make an impact.
Yeah, so we're doing a social distance beach cleanup during quarantine, seeing the effects of people maybe not being on the beach as much or people coming down, seeing what trash has been left, and doing a quick cleanup. And then we're also going to be testing the water here to see how much Enterococcus bacteria is in it.
As you guys can see, there's a lot of trash within the rocks and areas, so we're just gonna pick up around here, and we're waiting for some other people to come help us out. But there's a lot of trash in here, which is why this is such a great location to come.
Vibe like sons, and I had to raise them strictly. Wishing I could always stay this way. Hey, chilling by the bay, had to make me say that even if the sun goes down on you, you gotta keep that sun on top, yeah. On top, yeah. On top, yeah. And even if the sun...
I decided to start Surfrider because I wanted to look for something that I was really passionate about at school, and we didn't have a Surfrider club. So one of my former teachers from 8th grade told me about this opportunity, so he helped me start the club, and so we got some teachers involved and friends, and so now we have the club we have today, and I'm really passionate about it.
That's rad. Why did you start Surfrider?
So I just really like the impact we can make because we only have one Earth, and I just think what we do with it is so important. Like in Huntington Beach alone, if everyone picks up 5 pieces of trash each day, we could pick up over 1 million pieces of trash each day, which I think is incredible to think about because the small acts that you can do could just make such a huge impact on the environment.
Nice. And why did you start Surfrider?
I really wanted to get involved because I wanted to, once we started with water testing and working with the Blue Water Task Force, I was really interested in seeing how like the trash affected the quality of water and how that affected the animal life. And it really is important to like make a difference for like the animals that call the ocean their home.
Megan, why did you want to join Surfrider at Edison?
I wanted to join Surfrider at Edison because one of my really good friends had started the club. He told me about it. I saw the benefits of it and what it could do for our environment, and it got me involved at school. Being able to help run a club and test water samples at school and come to beach cleanups, I thought it was just a great way to get involved and help the environment.
So we're investigating the water for our samples.
And even if the sun goes down on you, you gotta keep that sun on top, yeah. On top, yeah.
Thanks for watching. We hope you guys get involved. Follow us at Edison Surfrider on Instagram so you can learn more about our program.
Save on
beaches!
Okay, so that was our video. Oh, I think we had one more slide.
Sorry about that. I'll get that slide right up
you.
for you. No sweat.
And then that video, we got it sent out to the whole school for Club Rush, which is how everyone signs up for clubs at our school. So that video we had made for the whole school to see, and that's how we got our 30 participants to join.
And then kind of talking about how we want to build our community and how we kind of use that as our philosophy at our school. Upcoming this year, we really want to get some merch, so sell shirts. We also want to sell reusable straws. And then we're hoping to do some dine outs soon, along with Bolt TV segments. That's like a TV channel thing at our school. We're hoping to be part of that at some point. And then using the organization Got Sneakers, we really want to fundraise using that. And then solo cleanups with club members, which is what we've been trying to do and we're hoping to do next month, depending on the weather and stuff. But kind of looking at the pictures, 2 of those are from the beach cleanup that we did when we made that video. But for the educational aspect, that is in our Edison Innovation Lab. And that was when we invited Talbot Middle School Surfrider Club to come to our school and tour the Innovation Lab. They got to see how we prepped the water for the sample. And I feel like that's a really important part of what we do, because we want our future generations and students who are younger than us to continue Surfrider at our school, and just the mentality of cleaning our beaches, especially being so close to the beach. And then I think there's one more. Okay, yeah. So that's just our remind. That's mainly for like students, but if you guys ever want updates or anything, and then our Instagram is Edison Surfrider, and that's it. Thank you.
Wow, that is amazing. I'm sure that everybody's watching is going, man, I wish my kids were going to Fountain Valley and to Edison, so that way they can get involved. So thanks very much. You guys you are our future, and the reason that us old people like me are doing this is so that you have a great world, to continue living on in the future. And let's hope that we can, the think globally, act locally, I think is a big thing, and that's what you're doing right now, and that is fantastic. And we have two big presenters coming up here that are going to help us out with hopefully making this a better place in the future, so there's less trash and we can all have a better environment. I'm going to turn this over to Jeff Kaufman right now. Jeff is our chapter liaison, and Jeff has been involved in clean water for a long time, and he has a special guest that he is going to introduce. So Jeff, I'm going to leave it up to you right now. So if you want to unmute yourself.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So just a real quick, I just want to say that I've been the Rise Above Plastics chairman for about 14 years. And so plastics in the ocean and in our environment has been a big deal for me. I was part of the banning of the single-use plastic bag back in the day. So I'm really excited to introduce our next guest. That's an amazing company, and I'm going to read something to you. So I want to introduce Mark Harama, and he is the co-founder and CEO of Newlight Technologies. And for the past 17 years, Mark has been working to figure out how to replace synthetic plastics with a natural and reusable material called air carbon that's made in the ocean and that biodegrades faster than cellulose if it ends up in the ocean. It's a big deal. Newlight was founded in Orange County and recently built its first large commercial scale air carbon production facility in the United States. Their goal is to use air carbon to help end the accumulation of plastics in the ocean in this generation. So it is my pleasure to introduce you to Mark, and he has really got some amazing stuff, and we're honored to have you here. Mark, take it away.
Awesome. Jeff, thanks so much. And really, truly an honor to be with you guys tonight. Sorry, I'm in sort of a weird on the move right now, so pulled over and calling from my car, but hopefully the connection's okay. Yeah, I grew up in Orange County, raised in Dana Point, Laguna Niguel, went to Dana Hills, surfed Strands. And then other than a short stint back east, I've been in Orange County and LA for most of my life. So really excited to chat with you guys tonight. Casey, I think we're going to play a video and then do some Q&A afterwards.
Yep, I got that video ready. I'll pop it up for you, Mark.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. And then can't wait to do some Q&A.
Today is a really special day for me. I'm sitting on the Algalita And this ship was the ship that discovered the Great Pacific Garbage Patch back in 1997. And that discovery is something that has changed the world, because we learned that there is a Texas-sized island, as it were, spread out of plastics in the ocean. And that, combined with the knowledge from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, that by 2050 there's projected to be more plastic than fish in the ocean, has changed the world. And it's given us the ability to make tangible what's happening to our environment and to our oceans. It's such a huge honor to meet Charlie Moore. This is a guy who's spending his whole life fighting to get plastics out of these waters. And what he is saying is, look, the problem with synthetic plastics is they don't go away. It's as simple as that. For me, I had a similar light bulb moment many years ago, about 17 years ago. I was reading a newspaper article about methane emissions from cows, of all things. And that article talked about the specific amount of methane burped per cow per day. It's about 600 liters per dairy cow per day. And why that mattered was because it made it tangible, and you could do the math, and the math at that time turned out to be roughly $20 of methane emitted per cow per year. Well, if you have a 1,000-cow farm, that's $20,000 of value into the air. And once we saw that there was this volume of carbon going into the air, we said, well, what if we could turn that into a useful material? What if we could get the world to actually compete for carbon that was going into the air? Wouldn't that be a scalable solution? Well, the idea was easy to come up with, but actually putting it into practice took a long time. And today, 17 years later, I'm so happy to talk about what we're bringing to the market for the first time. But before I do that, I want to talk a little bit about the journey. So we started with an idea, and then we moved into a laboratory, and then finally a pilot plant. And we spent about 10 years going from just an idea and a test tube to finally a commercial scale production facility. And over that course of time, we struggled, and we learned, and we kept growing. But what we discovered was that there are microorganisms in the ocean that eat greenhouse gas as their food source. So right now in the water around us, there are microorganisms, and they're natural, and they're consuming the carbon that's in the water, whether from carbon dioxide or methane, and they're eating it as their food source. And when they do that, part of what they make is this really incredible molecule called PHB. Now, PHB is a molecule that's found in all living things. It's flowing in my blood and your blood right now. Everything that you see that's alive pretty much has PHB inside of it. So it's this beautiful molecule, and we all make it as an energy reserve. And so microorganisms in the ocean do the same thing. As they consume greenhouse gas as their food, they also make this incredible material, PHB. But PHB, in addition to being made from greenhouse gas, also has a really special set of properties. One of them is when you purify it, you can melt it. And because you can melt it, now you can make it into things that can replace plastic. Well, why does that matter? Because PHB is produced naturally, if it ends up in the ocean knows what to do with it. It eats it like candy or like a banana peel. And so there was this great promise in this idea of what if we could turn greenhouse gas into PHB, a material that is a natural material that if it ends up in the environment, it goes away. Well, it took us many years to figure out how to do that in a way that was scalable. And finally, over a number of years, we kept getting the technology bigger and better and better and better. And one of the things that we're really proud to announce today is that we've installed and commissioned our first fully integrated large commercial scale production facility in Eagle 3. Eagle 3 for us is the dream come true. It's the start of the dream come true, but it's a dream come true. And many, many years ago when we were sketching this thing on a little notepad, this was the vision. And even today I can go out there and just look at it, and it's just an incredible, incredible sight because of what it represents. This facility, as it's operating, is from start to finish, a carbon negative process. That means that as we operate, we use air and sustainable methane, and by doing that, the material that we make removes or destroys more carbon dioxide equivalent greenhouse gas from the atmosphere than would otherwise be emitted. And that means that the more material we make, we have a net improvement in the world. And so that's really special. We've worked with Carbon Trust, SCS Global, and a number of other great organizations to calculate the exact footprint and show that this is a carbon negative process and material. But the other thing, of course, that it does is it degrades in the ocean. And so we've worked with Joe Green and other great experts in the field to show that if this material ends up in ocean water, it actually biologically degrades as fast or faster than cellulose in the water. So Eagle 3 is the start of something really special, because in many ways it's our solar panel. As we now look to grow as fast as we can, our goal is over the next 5 to 7 years, we want to launch over 90% of the product types that end up in the ocean to show that with air carbon, we can, within this generation, replace the plastics that are currently flowing into the ocean. We don't want things to end up in the ocean, period. If they do, we want them to be made from natural materials that will go away, just like a leaf in the forest. But we'd prefer them to never get into the ocean to begin with. So that's why it's really important to create things that are designed for multiple reuses. And that's what these products are. So Restore products are all made with dishwasher safe PHB. And so it's carbon negative, reusable, and if it ends up in the environment, it's made from a material that's ocean degradable. So that's really, really special to us. The other thing that I'm so happy to announce for the first time is our covalent eyewear and covalent non-leather material. And what this is the world's first eyewear made from air carbon. It's a carbon negative product on a net basis. And if you think about this space for a second, climate change is sometimes really hard to get your arms around. And including if I tell you that this is a carbon negative product, there has to be a part of you that says, yeah, right. And so what we did over the past 2 years is we worked with IBM to create a blockchain carbon tracking system. So this now has the world's first product-specific, blockchain-based carbon tracking system, where you can take a number, we call it the carbon date, that's the moment that the air carbon used to make this product was created, and you can plug in that specific moment into our blockchain tracker. And when you do that, you'll see every step in the production process, concluding with the precise amount of carbon that you have diverted from going into the air by virtue of this product, and which third party independently certified that carbon footprint. You cannot protect our oceans without addressing not only plastics pollution, but also climate change. NASA estimates that within the past 30 to 50 years, we've lost 25% of the world's reefs. You think about that for a second. Something that you really care about. 1 out of every 4 is now gone. NASA also estimates by 2050 that half of the world's reefs will be gone. There are estimates that are even more dire than that. But those reefs were not destroyed by plastic. They were destroyed by climate change. And what's happening in our ocean waters today is that the temperature of those waters has been going up. You can look at the data. And over the past 20 years, we have had these heat waves in the ocean, and that keeps going up and up and up. And when that happens, the coral reef, they dispel the living organisms that live inside of them that give them the food that they need to survive. And as the ocean water has gotten warmer and warmer, we've experienced coral bleaching and then coral death. We talk about the temperature of the Earth going up, and we talk about 2 degrees Celsius as being something that we want to prevent from happening, even 1.5 degrees Celsius. And it's really easy for any of us to say, well, what's the big deal? 2 degrees Celsius, I mean, why does that matter? Well, let's do the math real quick. So if you go from your current body temperature, which is 37 degrees Celsius, and you go up by 2 degrees Celsius to 39 degrees Celsius, that's a fever, and that's a big problem. In Fahrenheit, that's going from 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit up to about 102 degrees Fahrenheit. You have that for a few days, and you've got a real issue. It may seem very small, but these temperatures make a huge difference. In order to help fix the oceans, we can't just focus on plastics. We also have to focus on climate change. So these two products combined, restore reusable, regenerative foodware and covalent, regenerative, carbon negative fashion, we think have the potential to do a lot of good. But we also recognize that this fight to restore the environment is something that we're not going to solve by ourselves. And so one of the things that gets us excited is this shows you can hold in your hand proof that carbon doesn't have to go into the air. It doesn't. You know, everybody would be fair to have some level of worry that this thing is just too big and how are we ever really going to stop it. Part of what excites us about this product is it shows you that there is another way, and it's going to be really hard and it's going to take a long time and everybody's efforts, but step by step, one by one, we can start to remove the amount of carbon in the air. We can start to replace individual plastic products. So there's a few really cool things about this straw. Number one, it's made from PHB. It's made from air carbon, a material that is made throughout nature. So if it ends up in nature, it'll go away like a leaf in a forest. Also, air carbon is dishwasher safe, so you don't have to throw this away. I personally reuse this straw over and over and over again. But we also designed it to make sure that it's not indestructible. Straws today, you try to bend them. Look, I love growing up where you twist it and then flick it. That's really fun, but that's not fun for ocean life. So what we did was we created this to be strong enough where, forget any of the frustrations you've had with paper straws. These things will never get soggy. No matter how long you leave them in your water or your juice or whatever you're drinking from, hot coffee, cold drinks, whatever, this stuff will be durable. With that said, we designed them so they're not indestructible. So at the end of if you decide you don't want to keep hanging out with this straw, we designed it so you could actually break it up, very similar to a six-pack ring. So you can eventually, if you get after it, you can start to break it, and if you really get into it, you can tear it and then get to a point where you can break this thing up, so you don't have to put a whole straw out into the world. The other really cool thing, this stuff is heavier than water. So whereas every other plastic floats on the surface, and that's why it's perceived as food, this stuff will sink. And that means it won't become part of this terrible layer of plastic floating out in the world. This one straw represents something that now is going to go away if it ends up in the environment, as opposed to something that lasts forever. And we talk about, well, it's just one straw, but if it's in a turtle, is that just one turtle? Right? Every single step matters here, and every single thing happens by one step, one and one and one. There was a moment when we stood at the edge of a seashore and someone said, imagine if someday we could have so much plastic in the ocean that it would actually outnumber the fish. They would have thought that was impossible. And how did that happen? One person, and then another person, and another person. So if we did it, we can reverse it. We can change it. We can fix it. And so these are small. These are just one. But one together becomes something really big. And that's what we want to be a part of. We don't know what the future holds, but what I can tell you is that our legacy is going to be part of the part of the world that's fighting to help fix this. We're going to be part of a legacy of people who go on the facts, go on the science, and look for the things that we agree on to find solutions. So we're going to be part of a new wave and part of an amazing legacy of people that have showed us that, number one, the problem exists, the facts are real, and number two, there are things that we can agree on to help solve this thing. We can together replace synthetic plastics with natural materials. We can together take carbon that would otherwise go into the air and turn it into products that would otherwise be made from oil. We can all agree that those are good things. Let's go do that. So we are so honored to be part of a tradition that starts with people like Charlie Moore and continues with Newlight, but Newlight is one part of a much bigger piece that we all need to work together to fix this thing.
Wow, Wow, that was fantastic. Thank you, Mark. Jeff, anything that you wanted to add to that before we get to some of the questions that Roberta is going to be asking?
No, I mean, you know, I'm just honored to be part of this solution. And Newlight Technologies is really a top-notch company. And, you know, they're in Huntington Beach, guys. This is manufactured local. I mean, how cool is that? So yeah, no, I'd love to hear a few comments from Mark before we start taking questions. If you've got some stuff to say.
Sure.
Mark?
Well, thank you, Jeff, for saying that. Yeah, it's been a long journey. It took us 17 years to get here, and now it's really exciting. You know, I'm holding this fork here. This was made by microorganisms from the ocean, and this was made in Huntington Beach, start to finish. So that's just, yeah, it's taken a long time to get here, but this stuff is just really cool. And even now, after being in this for a long time, it's still inspiring to me and to us about what it can do. This straw will go away as fast as paper if it ends up in the ocean, but it never gets soggy. And I think part of what we care a lot about is finding the things that we agree on. And the reason I say that is because those are the things that can really scale. You know, people get tired of paper straws because you're halfway through your drink and they don't work anymore. And so you get backlash to the fight, right? People talk about, oh, well, are straws really that big of a deal? Well, yeah, they are that big of a deal. You know, they're killing ocean life. And same thing with, you know, forks, but you have to provide something that actually works well to get wide scale adoption. And so that's what we've worked really, really hard on to figure out how to do. And now we've just built our first commercial scale plant in Huntington Beach, and we're really excited to start moving this stuff at meaningful volume. So I'd love to take any questions. I could go on for a long time talking about this stuff, but I'd love to answer any questions that anyone has.
Awesome.
Mark, you have some schedule or time to actually tour people in there? Is that still going on?
Yeah, we do. If you're interested in taking a tour, we do that. Obviously, with COVID, you know, that's been a little bit limited, but we absolutely do that, and maybe it'd be a fun thing to do, sort of a Surfrider chapter related tour, and we could show people around it. It's fun. Basically, here I'll show a picture if I can figure this out. So what you see behind me, I'll just get out of the way. So that's Eagle 3, the main tank right in the middle there. That's a big stainless steel tank, and what we do is we fill it with water, add salt, basically mimic the ocean, add our ocean microorganisms to it, and then we feed it air and greenhouse gas, just like what happens in the ocean. Whole thing runs on renewable power, and they eat it and turn it into this really beautiful molecule that we call air carbon. And so it looks maybe a little bit complicated, but it's actually quite simple. It's just sort of that ocean process there in the middle, and then that big box to the side of it is just a cooling tower. The microorganisms prefer to operate at roughly jacuzzi temperature, so that just keeps them at that temperature, and that's how we operate. So this is kind of what we consider our solar panel, and by that I mean from here on out we're going to be expanding by just building more of these in different sites, and so that allows us to start to grow quickly. Our goal is in the next 5 to 7 years to introduce over 90% of the product types that currently end up in the ocean. So starting with straws and cutlery, but moving into cups and bottles and plates, to show that in this generation, there is a pathway, and it's going to take a lot of effort to get there, but there is a pathway to stop the flow of synthetic materials into the ocean. So we're dedicated, we're committed and we're really excited about this next chapter.
Nice, nice. Thank you. Roberta, do you have a couple questions to ask Mark from the chat box?
Yes, I've been watching them. We had someone ask, can you put your processing plant on old landfills, or where would they be located?
Yeah, we can. Sort of anywhere where there are either methane or carbon dioxide in concentrated form, we can use that. So landfills is one of our. Here, let me remove the background. It might be a little weird. We can take that and use it as a carbon source. So landfill gas is something we've used in the past. The first thing that we used was actually biogas from a dairy farm in actually in Illinois, and then one in California, and then a food waste plant. Our longer term vision is we have a small unit where we can we've captured carbon dioxide from ethanol plants, and there's actually ways to pull it directly from the air as well. So there's a lot of anywhere that carbon's going to the air, we can grab it and turn it into this really cool molecule.
Someone asked, can you explain regenerative, please?
Yeah, it's a new term. It's kind of emerging, so thanks for asking. Basically, regenerative is the idea of not just doing less bad, but actually going in the other direction and restoring the environment. And so when we talk about that, we're talking about this being a carbon negative process. So this straw has been independently certified as removing 30 grams of carbon dioxide equivalent greenhouse gas from the air. And so we're actually flowing in the other direction, similar to when you grow a tree leaf. That's a carbon negative process. So is this stuff. And I think one of the really important things that sometimes gets overlooked in our fight to fix the oceans is that plastic is doing incredible harm, and that's central to our mission. But so is climate change. This data set that we're on pace to lose half of the world's coral reefs, that's from warming waters. And so we've got to address both sides, and these products do that. So that's what we mean by regenerative.
How long does it take for this carbon negative material to decompose?
Well, it's kind of like nature's candy. So this molecule, it's actually flowing in all of our bodies right now. We all make it as an energy storage material. So if it ends up in nature, it eats it like food. And so in a anaerobic digester, like a wastewater treatment plant, this straw goes away in about 15 days. Now, if it's much colder and lower microorganism activity in the ocean, this can take anywhere from 6 months to a year and a half. And one of the questions is, well, I guess within 6 months or a year, that could still be a problem for sea life. And that's definitely true. But some cool things about this: number one, it sinks. It's heavier than water, and so that's very different than plastic. Number two, as I showed, you can break this up if you want to, so you don't have to have this thing that is indestructible if it ends up in ocean life. And other than it going away, like a tree leaf, this stuff is dishwasher safe. That's very unique amongst natural materials. So if you want to, you never really have to throw this stuff away. I mean, at home I have a set of air carbon cutlery, and I just use it over and over again. So a lot of ways where it doesn't have to end up in the ocean, and that reusability is really important to us, because ultimately we'd like to get away from anything ending up in the ocean, whether or not it's ocean degradable. So that's something that's exciting for us.
A lot of people are asking where can you purchase this? Is it out for sale? Your product?
Well, we just launched just a few weeks ago. So it was sort of a huge moment for us there at the end of September. And so we've been rolling this out with some local restaurants. We're actually going to be announcing a big airport in a few days, and some big restaurant chains. And then we have a direct-to-consumer website on restorefoodware.com. And we're going to start delivering product to anybody who orders directly online here just in a few weeks. So my goal is I'd love to see everything in Orange County, as much as we possibly can, get any plastic straws or cutlery out of our local restaurants, and then just keep growing that radius, Orange County, LA. So just within the next few weeks, those are going to be on the market for anybody who wants them.
Yeah, we have some at our Bring Your Own store at the San Gabriel River, Alamitos Bay Landing next to Ballast Point Brewery. We were able to get a shipment in recently, and so they will be available there if you come to the BYO store, generally between 11 and 4 during weekdays.
Awesome.
How are we doing on time?
We have time for if there's one more question that came out of the chat box. Otherwise, we can kind of wrap that up and move on. If there's another good question there.
He has his hand up, Jeff.
Yeah, I have a statement. So there is a cool company out of Huntington Beach called 4 Blue Waves. They are an official distributor of the product for Newlight. So if you have any inquiries based on this meeting, you should contact the number 4 bluewaves.com, and we will send you some samples and answer any questions you have. We have Mark's company's been doing a really amazing job at getting certifications. There's a bunch of studies, but if you have any inquiries, you should all be directed towards either sending an information to Tony, which he sent the information via chat, or go to info@4bluewaves.com, and we will get you whatever information or product that you need.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff, for adding that. So yes, I second all of that, and really honored to work with 4 Blue Waves as a local partner, and super excited about that. Also, honored to share the stage with Captain Charlie Moore. That was such an exciting day for me personally, and just honored to be sharing the stage with you, Charlie. So enough about Newlight. Pass the baton.
That's perfect segue. That's a perfect segue. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Mark.
Yeah. So ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure and honor to welcome Captain Charles Moore this evening. His father was an industrial chemist and avid sailor who took young Charles and his siblings to remote destinations around the Pacific. He attended the University of California, San Diego, where he majored in chemistry and also Spanish. And after 25 years of a career in business and woodworking, he founded the Algalita Marine Research and Long Beach Organic Foundations in 1994. In 95, he launched his purposely designed aluminum-hulled research vessel, the Algalita, which you saw pictures of in the video, in Hobart, Tasmania, where he completed a research voyage to document anthropogenic contamination of Australia's east coast. In 97, he was getting ready for a Transpac yacht race in Hawaii and testing out a new mast when all of a sudden he decided to veer on and go on to a new route. And he went to a new part of the ocean he'd never seen before. And then all of a sudden he said, here I was in the middle of the ocean and there was nowhere I could go to avoid the plastic. And that started his mind thinking. His 1999 study shocked the scientific world when it found 6 times more plastic fragments by weight in the surface waters of the Central Pacific than the associated zooplankton. Let me put this up here. Hopefully you can see this, because I have this and hope you can get it too. He's the author of the book Plastic Ocean, which is a fantastic read, and everyone should read this if you are an ocean enthusiast.
And every employee at Newlight has a copy.
Oh, there you go. He's been featured on Good Morning America, Late Night with David Letterman, Nightline, The Colbert Report. Academy Award winner Jeremy Irons used him in a documentary called Trashed. He was honored by just all kinds of honorees, and he also has his honorary doctorate from the Thompson Rivers University in British Columbia. I could go on and on, but tonight I want to present to you, and it's my pleasure to present Captain Charles Moore, who will kind of kick things off before we share his TED Talk that he did a few years ago. And then we'll get back to him to listen about how things have changed since that TED Talk and where he sees things happening right now. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Captain Charles Moore.
Thanks. Glad to be with you guys. Yeah. I put on my captain's uniform, actually commander's uniform. I was the commander of the Long Beach Power Squadron, which is an educational boating group. It's like the Working Man's Yacht Club, and we teach small boat seamanship and navigation. And I became commander in 1991-92. So before I got out of business, I still kept my hand in the Marine field by teaching young and older people the basic art of small boat seamanship and basic navigation and marlinspike skills. So I've been involved in the marine environment as kind of a marine mammal, having grown up just on Alamitos Bay and paddled over to the river there where the girls did that cleanup at the mouth of the San Gabriel River. Back in the day when after surfing, you could stop off at a restaurant and get a cheese omelet for 80 cents. So yeah, it's been a while. Anyway, I wanted to say something about plastic because, you know, it's been 20 years plus since I discovered that Great Pacific Garbage Patch and published that paper. And I have to be honest, it's only gotten worse. Nothing good in terms of plastic pollution has happened until what you just heard about tonight, which is the possibility to make plastic that goes away. The way plastic goes away now is to get smaller. And when it gets smaller, it gets more pernicious. And that's why now it's in us. I saw this coming, I predicted it, but now I have, you know, people are infatuated with numbers and statistics. 13% of dust is plastic now. I mean, dust, and it's blowing around. It's more than 10% plastic. You know, the wastewater that is processed and turned to sludge, Kellogg takes the waste from Los Angeles, turns it into fertilizer, uses it in agriculture. 80 to 90% of the plastic that's in that wastewater is being turned into compost and going into the soil. So we're not only contaminating the ocean, we're not only contaminating the air with plastic dust, we're also contaminating the soil. And it's now been shown by the Plastic Health group in Amsterdam, accumulated all the information about vegetables and found plastic in many of the typical vegetables that we all consume. So these were not things I was thinking about in 1997, sailing through the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. I was thinking about aesthetics, about being a marine mammal, and having my habitat ruined by trash. And it's still an aesthetic problem. It's still ugly. No one ever comes up to me after a lecture and says, you know, Captain Moore, we need more plastic in the environment. We need more trash out there. There's no opposite to the concept that it's an ugly, serious problem. Everyone agrees to that. So what are we going to do about it? Well, I'm afraid what we've been doing is not working. And it's going to take, as the previous speaker, Mark mentioned, a long time. I hate the idea of long transitions periods between bad and good. I want good to come really quick after I find that something's bad. If I have a bad habit, I want to change it into a good habit right away. We're not doing that with plastic. As a matter of fact, some of the things that we're doing are increasing plastic pollution. For instance, electric cars have greater torque. They make more tire dust. Tire dust is now the, how much tire dust is there? It's like a tremendous percentage of the I think it was close to half of the plastic they found in San Francisco Bay in the micro size class was tire dust. And a lot of that has to do with having more vehicles. And just because you have an electric vehicle doesn't mean you're not polluting with plastic. Tires are plastic and they're polluting. So I'm the bad news guy. Mark is the good news guy. So like I say, I hate this idea that the transition from bad to good is going to take so long, but without Mark, it will never happen. So let's just think about that while you watch the TED Talk. That was the last TED conference we had in Long Beach when I did this talk. So it's a short one. I think it's just 6 minutes. So if you want to play that.
All right, give me a moment here, Charles, and I'll fire it up. Thank you very much for joining us.
Let's talk trash. You know, we had to be taught to renounce the powerful conservation ethic we had developed during the Great Depression and World War II. After the war, we needed to direct our enormous production capacity toward creation of products for peacetime. Life magazine helped in this effort by announcing the introduction of throwaways that would liberate the housewife from the drudgery of doing dishes. Mental note to the liberators. Throwaway plastics take a lot of space and don't biodegrade. Only we humans make waste that nature can't digest. Plastics are also hard to recycle. A teacher told me how to express the under 5% of total plastics recovered in our waste stream. It's diddly point squat. That's the percentage we recycle. Now, melting point has a lot to do with this. Plastic is not purified by the remelting process like glass and metal. It begins to melt below the boiling point of water and does not drive off oily contaminants, for which it is a sponge. Half of each year's 100 billion pounds of thermoplastic pellets will be made into fast-track trash. A large unruly fraction of our trash will flow down rivers to the sea. Here is the accumulation at Ballona Creek next to the LA airport, and here is the flotsam near California State University Long Beach and the desal plant we visited yesterday. In spite of deposit fees, much of this trash leading out to the sea will be plastic beverage bottles. We use 2 million of them in the United States every 5 minutes, here imaged by TED presenter Chris Jordan, who artfully documents mass consumption and zooms in for more detail. Here is a remote island repository for bottles off the coast of Baja California. Isla San Roque is an uninhabited bird rookery off Baja's sparsely populated central coast. Notice that the bottles here have caps on them. Bottles made of polyethylene terephthalate, PET, will sink in seawater and not make it this far from civilization. Also, the caps are produced in separate factories from a different plastic, polypropylene. They will float in seawater, but unfortunately do not get recycled under the bottle bills. Let's trace the journey of the millions of caps that make it to sea solo. After a year, the ones from Japan are heading straight across the Pacific, while ours get caught in the California current and first head down to the latitude of Cabo San Lucas. After 10 years, a lot of the Japanese caps are in what we call the Eastern Garbage Patch, while ours litter the Philippines. After 20 years, we see emerging the debris accumulation zone of the North Pacific Gyre. It so happens that millions of albatross nesting on Kure and Midway atolls in the Northwest Hawaiian Islands National Monument forage here and scavenge whatever they can find for regurgitation to their chicks. A 4-month-old Laysan albatross chick died with this in its stomach. Hundreds of thousands of the goose-sized chicks are dying, with stomachs full of bottle caps and other rubbish, like cigarette lighters. But mostly bottle caps. Sadly, their parents mistake bottle caps for food, tossing about in the ocean surface. The retainer rings for the caps also have consequences for aquatic animals. This is Mae West, still alive at a zookeeper's home in New Orleans. I wanted to see what my hometown of Long Beach was contributing to the problem, so on Coastal Cleanup Day in 2005, I went to the Long Beach Peninsula at the east end of our Long Beach. We cleaned up the swaths of beach shown. I offered 5 cents each for bottle caps. I got plenty of takers. Here are the 1,100 bottle caps they collected. I thought I would spend 20 bucks that day. I ended up spending nearly 60. I separated them by color and put them on display the next Earth Day at Cabrillo Marine Aquarium in San Pedro. Governor Schwarzenegger and his wife Maria stopped by to discuss the display. In spite of my girly man hat, crocheted from plastic shopping bags, they shook my hand. I showed him and Maria a zooplankton trawl from the Gyres north of Hawaii with more plastic than plankton. Here's what our trawl samples from the plastic soup our ocean has become look like. Trawling a zooplankton net on the surface for a mile produces samples like this and this. Now, when the debris washes up on the beaches of Hawaii, it looks like this. And this particular beach is Kailua Beach, the beach where our president and his family vacationed before moving to Washington. Now, how do we analyze samples like this one that contain more plastic than plankton? We sort the plastic fragments into different size classes from 5 millimeters to 1/3 of a millimeter. Small bits of plastic concentrate persistent organic pollutants up to 1 million times their levels in the surrounding seawater. We wanted to see if the most common fish in the deep ocean at the base of the food chain was ingesting these poison pills. We did hundreds of necropsies, and over 1/3 had polluted plastic fragments in their stomachs. The record holder, only 2.5 inches long, had 84 pieces in its tiny stomach. Now, you can buy certified organic produce, but no fishmonger on earth can sell you a certified organic wild-caught fish. This is the legacy we are leaving to future generations. The throwaway society cannot be contained. It has gone global. We simply cannot store and maintain or recycle all our stuff. We have to throw it away. Now, the market can do a lot for us, but it can't fix the natural system in the ocean we've broken. All the king's horses and all the king's men will never gather up all the plastic and put the ocean back together again. The levels are increasing. The amount of packaging is increasing. The throwaway concept of living is proliferating, and it's showing up in the ocean.
He offers no hope of cleaning it up. Straining the ocean for plastic would be beyond the budget of any country, and it might kill untold amounts of sea life in the process. The solution, Moore says, is to stop the plastic at its source. Stop it on land before it falls into the ocean.
There's your typical t-shirt shopping bag.
And in a plastic-wrapped and packaged world, he doesn't hold out much hope for that either. This is Brian Rooney for Nightline in Long Beach, California.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was President Obama that I was talking about. That's how long ago it was. And that was Kailua Beach. And now Sustainable Coastlines in Hawaii is having to clean up the beaches there, and they're in a much worse state than ever before. So the prediction that the throwaway lifestyle is increasing and the levels are rising has come true. And the reason why this cannot be reversed is because we are electrifying society as a response to climate change. And the most powerful industry on the planet is the petroleum industry. And it has tremendous reserves. And in order to make profit, it's diverting its petroleum reserves to the production of plastic from the production of fuel. And that juggernaut of wrapping bananas and pineapples and things that already have a perfectly good wrapper on them in plastic is a symptom of the push by big petroleum to force plastic throwaway products on the world's people, making the tiny sachets so that poor people can afford a little drop of soy sauce or a little drop of hot sauce. These sachets are clogging up Asian rivers, and there's no recycling for them. So I'm not an optimist. I'm not an optimist, but I refuse to stop supporting the optimistic solutions like Newlight that are out there. The hurdles that they will have to overcome are tremendous, not the least of which is big oil's ability to discount their products artificially and dump them on the marketplace. So I'd be happy to talk to you in any about any aspect of the plastic pollution problem. I made a couple of notes while we were during our meeting. As Mark said, doing less bad will never catch up to the situation. We need a complete change in the way we do things, and the fact that the electorate in the United States believes that the antithesis of reason is great, that 70 million people think that a bucket full of lies is better than anything you can possibly imagine, is a commentary on how difficult our challenge is to truly change a broken system. And that's why I'm continuing to speak out. I'm producing an article. I'll be having a podcast coming up in December called Mine Landfills Now. And part of mining landfills will be the use of the methane there for making PHB. And that will be a positive aspect of mining landfills. But we've got to start getting our resources from waste rather than scarring and ruining the earth for things. We have things already and we throw them away. We've got to think of everything as a resource. We've got to embrace the concept of zero waste. Everything is a resource waiting to be recovered. And there must never be another landfill if we make things that are designed for recovery. But in the absence of designing for recovery, we're going to have to mine those landfills and invent things as we go. And that's what I'm advocating in my podcast coming up in December with the Institute for Local Self-Reliance in Washington, D.C.
Wow, that's fantastic. You know, and if anybody has any questions out there, please put them in the chat box. I know some are coming up right now, and I'll turn it over to Roberta. She's kind of our Vanna White for the evening. You know, she's going to be handling all the questions and all that. So, Roberta, take it away.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Moore. We have a question saying, having been at this for so long, how do you combat activism fatigue?
Gardening is my answer. Production of organic produce is a joyous activity, especially for someone who likes to eat. And I live on food. That's basically my philosophy. Food's what keeps me going. And the better the food is, the better I feel. And I conduct a local farmers market. I have every Sunday from 10 to 4 produce that's been inspected by the County Agricultural Commissioner and registered organic for sale in front of my house for passersby. My motto is think local, act neighborly. I believe localism is a key to a lot of our problems.
Roberta, do you mind if I just add one thing? You know, for me, Charlie, I know you mentioned that, you know, it's hard to be optimistic given the scale of what's happened, but for me, there's kind of like two things that have given us hope. and one of them is what you've done. I mean, all of us started reading about this Texas-sized spread out mass of plastic in the ocean, and it galvanized the world. The only other data point that changed the world in the way that your discovery did was that statistic on 2050 more plastic than fish in the ocean. Those two data points, and yours was well before that. I mean, the last time we had this much consensus on an environmental issue was the ozone layer, but that's you. So and even though it's it is sad that it's going to take time, I mean, there are whole continents now legislating the end of synthetic plastics and products. That's happening, and millions, if not billions, of people around the world galvanized to fix this problem. And that's why I I believe you're maybe more of a celebrity than you even realize.
Well, I did invite Ellen MacArthur to go on a cruise out to the garbage patch, but couldn't quite convince her. She was a famous herself, for sailing around the world. So it's wonderful what her institute has done, and she's working on circular economy. And I also think that we need to have what I would call a steady state economy. Circularity is a concept that encompasses reuse, and it's a good concept, but growth is our enemy, and not in your case. We want you to grow as fast as you possibly can, but the idea that our population and all the infrastructure needed to take care of it must continue to grow in order to have market for all these products is really what's killing us. We need circularity. We need a steady state economy. We need infinite inventions within a steady state economy. We need creativity to the max. There's no denying that it's good to disrupt the status quo. It's just what we really want is a status quo that doesn't have to be disrupted. What we want is a status quo that is a safe harbor. I'm a sailor. I know what it's like to be out in a storm. I know what it's like to be in a safe harbor. If you have your druthers, you're going to stay in a safe harbor and not go out in a storm. That's what we need, is a safe harbor for civilization that we can live in peace.
I have a question for you. We have, I don't know, probably 10 to 12 high school students that are still on, listening to your every word and all of that. They're the next generation. If you could tell them one or two things to take back to their peers, things that they can put on social media so they can move this message forward, what would that be? Because we're talking about some people that have some really great outreach here.
Well, there's really no I know we talk about individual solutions, and we want to have, and we've been driven to the individual level by the unresponsiveness of society as a whole. We're not getting the response we need at the large scale. So we've been driven into this individual response to an enormous social problem. In reality, there is no truly individual solution to a generalized social problem, which is what we're experiencing. The inability is basically the political class. Reason has left the stage. The political class cannot push back against the economic forces that are driving modern production. So we're driven to this local, personal, individual solution by the unresponsiveness of the society at large. And you can see what we're up against in the election still not being called, and with nearly half of Americans having voted for the current president. So the fact that we really need the entire system to wake up, not just be woke ourselves, is sad. that to think that that's going to be so difficult in the current climate. But we can't give up. We've got to struggle. If we dare to struggle, we can dare to win. And winning feels good. And so I would tell the students that they dare to struggle to achieve your goals, and speak as the young man did early on in this Zoom meeting when he said that he was driven by a desire to create a better planet, that we only have one planet and we wanted to preserve it. and driven by that desire will require you to struggle in a political way, in an environmental way. And if you dare to make that struggle, you will perceive victory. You will achieve victory. And if you dare to struggle, you can win. So be daring and struggle and look for that victory that will come to you eventually.
I like that. Be daring, everybody. I don't know if there's, Roberta, if there's any other questions that are out there.
We have someone asking about his lab.
Okay.
Thanks for that. I always forget to talk about what I'm doing because it's just a bunch of work. But what we're doing is we're part of a consortium of laboratories now that is trying to develop methods for determining how much plastic is in our drinking water. The state of California leads the world in regulating pollution in a lot of ways. And one of the types of pollution that has now alarmed our state legislators is plastic in our drinking water. It's starting to be found universally. And so how much? Because everybody wants to do the worst first. So we're looking to find out where's the worst problem with plastic in drinking water. And our lab that we've just started, the Moore Institute for Plastic Pollution Research, at right by the BYO place I told you about that carries Newlight's straws, we're spending 8 hours a day. You can actually only really work on the microscope for 3 hours before you go a little bit crazy and start screwing up. But we're looking down to the micron size class, down to 1 micron, 1/1,000,000th of a meter, to pull out little bits of plastic from samples that are the same as the samples that have been given to 40 other labs. So we're all looking at the same basic pollution in water samples to see if the methods that we've been given are adequate to determine at a level enough to drive policy and drive legislation that determine the number and types of plastic in our drinking water. So that's what we're doing right now. We're spending our time looking through the microscope, pulling out plastic. Each little piece of plastic has to be circled and numbered and measured. The microscope has the ability to measure the plastic. And then later we'll try to identify it by staining it with a Nile red and looking with fluorescent microscopy. But just let me say this. Since I do this all day, what I'm finding is when I pull that little piece of plastic out and put it in the Petri dish, and the Petri dish has double-sided tape on it, and we stick the plastic on the tape, then I circle it with an ultra-fine Sharpie. And when I make that circle around the piece of plastic that's on that double-sided tape, and this is a lab that we're trying to be ultra clean in, I'm always writing on top of a piece of fiber that is dropped out of the air. I basically can't find a clean spot on the double-sided tape where I could put my plastic. I just have to keep putting it in a row and finding a place that's why you have to circle your own piece of plastic, because there's so much plastic falling out of the air that it becomes confused with the sample that you've actually pulled out of the water sample. So that's what 13% of the dust in the world being plastic now does for a laboratory experiment in trying to determine how much plastic is in water. It's very difficult to have anything clean in this world of ours. We've made our world dirty, not only with plastic, but with chemicals and greenhouse gases. And that's why the Clean Up the World movement is a great group. They got over 150 countries together on World Cleanup Day. Millions and millions of people went out to clean up the world. And so if you want a slogan, that's a good one. Clean up the world.
There you go. I know Roberta has one more question for you, but nobody go anywhere because we have a special guest in the house that many people may have heard of his organization, but don't know who the CEO is. Now I'm going to introduce that person as soon as Roberta gets done with this last question here.
Okay, one more question, Mr. Moore. What was your initial feeling or response to seeing the garbage patch?
That's a horrible question. I get that question all the time. It's nothing like that. The image of a place with stuff in it is not what a sailor sees on the ocean. The ocean, you see water. You don't see stuff. And there is no place on the ocean where you can go and just see stuff. Unless it's near shore, like we saw in those pictures of the Dominican Republic where every wave looked like it was made out of plastic. And that was after a rain, and you get a lot of stuff coming down rivers, and you do see a plastic ocean at the mouths of urban rivers. But in the garbage patch, it was a week-long journey where I couldn't come on deck and within 5 minutes not see something float by that gave me a feeling of unease. So in science, it's just like you get hints about things that you want to investigate further. In a lot of ways, nature is very subtle, and pollution can be subtle as well. And so it was just a feeling of unease. Why am I here in the middle of nowhere, as far from human civilization as I can get anywhere on the planet, and I can't spend 5 minutes on deck without seeing some little bit of plastic? There was never any big piece. There was never any mountain or island or anything like that. Never even, we make log entries in our log every hour to make sure everything is running smoothly. And no one ever made a log entry during that whole week we crossed the garbage patch about plastic pollution or seeing anything that made them have an aha moment. So it's not eureka, I found the garbage patch. It was a bad feeling that the habitat of me, a marine mammal, was being impacted by anthropogenic human-made debris. And so I didn't really have that aha moment till I came back 2 years later with scientific sampling equipment and pulled that first trawl in and saw how much plastic was in it. That was the aha moment. That was when I really go, oh my God, we have screwed up the whole ocean. So yeah, it was 2 years later. So yeah, just you got to understand, a lot of the things that happen in life are not aha moments. It's not all revelation. It's a lot of it is just suspicion and then confirmation. And that a lot of that is what science is all
about. Oh, well, thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we do have one more person here who I think Mark and Captain Moore know, and that is Marcus Eriksen. Marcus is here in the house, and he is the CEO of 5 Gyres. And so, Marcus, if you wanted to unmute yourself, and if you can't, we'll unmute you for you there. If you have a few things you'd like to say to kind of wrap up what both these guys are saying, because you have some neat things going on with 5 Gyres, from my understanding, from some of the communications between you, myself, and Jeff. And you have, you even have a question, I think, for Mark there, that didn't get asked. So you can probably ask that also. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you Mr. Marcus Eriksen, 5 Gyres CEO.
Can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Oh, good. Can I share my screen for a real quick second? And while you're doing that, I just have to acknowledge that I owe my career to Charles Moore. I met Charlie 16 years ago, Charlie, in 2004. I came to your house, and I think I had a trailer on my truck with a raft. I just threw it down the Mississippi River. It was made of plastic bottles, and you were so tickled to death. You gave me a job, and I joined you twice. I joined you twice on gyre voyages, and I remember you handed me a stack of about 30 research papers and said, "You want to be a scientist in this field? Here's all we know." Now it's like 30 papers a month. Every day there's a new paper coming out.
Right.
It's so yeah. So thank you, Charlie, and also Charlie. I met Anna, my wife and co-founder of Five Gyres, in your kitchen at your birthday party. You remember that? That's going back 13 years.
Engaged on Valentine's Day in the garbage patch.
That's right.
Spraying
Aboard the
out trash.
So I know Charlie. I know Charlie very well. So it's
love it.
great
I
to
love
share
these
this.
stories. Hey, Marcus, we added you as co-host, so you should be able to share your screen now. Go for it.
Wonderful. I'll share it real quick because thanks to Charlie, I've got really involved in this research of. I'm going to answer some basic questions about ocean plastics, and we began the Five Gyres Institute, my wife and I, and there are 5 subtropical gyres, North Pacific being the largest, and there being 4 others. We sailed around those, and we're still doing research. So I'll share with you a couple of papers that came out in the last few months. Here's one on this just got published last week, less than a week ago, on camels. You would not believe this. I went to Dubai to go survey microplastics in the Gulf of Arabia, and I met a veterinarian, and he said, "Take a look at this." And we were pulling these masses of plastic bags out of camel stomachs. This just got published last week, and this goes to show the issue. What began as awareness of trash in the oceans, now we're seeing it's impacting, every ecosystem worldwide. And I want to show.
This is the polar regions ones about camels?
Which are you seeing right now?
The polar regions one.
Oh, you're seeing the wrong one. Let's see. Let me see what you're saying.
Yeah, we're looking at the polar region paper.
Okay, can you see the illustration from that right now?
Yeah, it looks like some mirrors.
Okay.
Rope.
So there are 2 papers. I'll show the camel in a second. This is plastic in polar regions. We published this a few months ago, and you can see plastic has emanated beyond the gyres, and we're finding it in aquatic environments everywhere. And you can see that bottom to the right there, that image. That's a Snickers bar wrapper that's frozen into a chunk of ice in the polar regions. If that were PHB, it would not be there. It would last much longer in the ice, of course. It would sink into sediments, and the slow degradation process would start. Let me show, I'm going to show one more here. Let's see, the camel paper. Can you see the camel paper now?
Yeah.
Okay, so this we published this just last week, and I want to show you this. We pulled these masses out of camel stomachs. They're consuming trash in the deserts, and we published our findings were a 1% mortality rate. The camels around Dubai, they're eating trash, leaving that city, plastic bags and ropes. Of the 30,000 camels there, we've documented 300 camels dying from plastic trash in their stomachs. And that's significant. It's a field study of an ecologically relevant concentration of trash impacting an entire population. So it goes to show trash is being found outside the gyres, outside the ocean, in all biomes. It is a global problem. But what I love about PHA and PHB is that it is a real solution, as Charlie and Mark have described. Actually, Newlight is sharing with us a few other items. We are doing a PHA and PHB study next year. We're just about fully funded, and that is to take about 15 different products made of PHB and PHA and put them in 6 environments: a cold aquatic and cold terrestrial environment in Maine, a warm river environment in the Everglades in Florida, and then here a temperate ocean environment and desert environment in California. 6 environments, putting 15 products made of PHA and PHB for a year and a half. And the purpose here is to show the public and to show folks who are going to be making products out of PHB and PHA that it does degrade under what conditions and in what environments. To give some market confidence, if we're going to replace the fossil fuel industries that are making, I mean, hundreds of millions of tons of new plastic each year, to show the market that this alternative does work, we have to show it and show it quickly. Like Charlie said, we can't wait 15 years for a solution. We need the solution now. And I believe that PHA and PHB have their place in the market. So this study's gonna happen in 2021. I think I'll stop. That's what I wanted to share, is that I'm so excited to be here and share the stage with Charlie and Mark and everyone. Thanks for inviting me to the Zoom meeting.
Marcus, we're so excited about that.
That was awesome.
That was fantastic. What a way to wrap it up and to encapsulate everything there. Marcus, your history there with Charles Moore and what you're doing with Mark's product there, that's fantastic. And I know Captain Moore, you said be daring, and I know that Latin phrase that I've used for 25, almost 30 years. In fact, my AOL account, it's my sign-off signature. It's Carpe Diem. Seize the day. And like Marcus said, there's no time like right now, ladies and gentlemen, to get involved. Talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, be daring. Take that step and do it right now, because we only have one planet. And Captain Moore, you'll be proud to know that young man that said that was a former student of mine, actually, and a couple weeks ago he received his Eagle Scout Award. So it was a really great accomplishment for him, and he's very, very much into conservation. That's all our chapter has. If anybody wants to, hang on for a few minutes and just talk trash or talk stories or whatever, that's the end of the official presentation for this evening. But we'll be around for a little bit if anybody just wants to talk. So thank you very much, everybody. Love seeing you all and love seeing the engagement. And I
want to say, let me say hi to Regina Taylor. She's a former board member of Long Beach Organic. Hi, Regina.
Hi, good seeing you.
Yeah.
Love your work. It's great.
Marcus, there is a message in the chat.
I would like to just say, Marcus, Mark, and Charlie, you guys are amazing. And we're just happy to be along for the ride with you guys.
Hey, you better do more than just be along for the ride, Jeff.
Well, I am one of the owners of 4 Blue Waves, so yeah. I mean, we want to help spread the word.
You've been doing a good job. You brought attention to Newlight, and we appreciate that. And it's really great to have a local business that we can all support, that's manufacturing and likely to have a bright future. So we love the idea of local going global.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm super proud to work with 4 Blue Waves. You guys have been a great partner so far, and we're really excited to start expanding our reach. And hopefully here very shortly, you can't go to a restaurant in Huntington Beach or right around that radius and still find yourself with a plastic straw. So we want to start the march and start it now. So like I said, such an honor to be with all you guys tonight. Really appreciate it.
Hey, Mark, there are actually a couple of questions we didn't get to. There were so many coming in rapid fire. Maybe I can just fire off like 3 things real quick that maybe you could touch on. Number one, how exactly is the methane captured, from the sites? Number 2, is there a dye in the straws and materials, and what kind of effect might that have? And then number 3, what's the price comparison to traditional plastic or other products?
Yeah, so we can basically take anywhere that there's carbon going into the air, we can take that. So what we like right now is taking renewable methane in the same way that we buy renewable power from the grid. We can also work with places like landfills or farms or places like abandoned coal mines, anywhere that's catching methane and then putting it back into the grid, and then we can buy that from the grid. So effectively, we can either be on site catching that or taking it on a renewable basis from the grid. In the past, we've captured it and trucked it, but we're trying to find increasingly scalable ways to get renewable sources of carbon. As far as the pigment, so we have a couple different grades right now, one with no pigment. We're looking at the blue right now just because we want to have something that's clearly identifiable as different. And we're going to be, looking at the market to see if people care about that or not. And if they don't, then, natural is the way to go too. Right now, it's an FDA food contact approved sort of metal, and that would just sink. But I'm sort of the opinion that if the whole world was happy with natural, I probably would be too. The less material, the better. And we're always on the hunt to figure out ways to just make everything as pure as possible, which is why this thing is essentially almost all pure air carbon PHB. Which
Hey,
is very,
Don Schultz, Tony Soriano here. I saw that you were participating on the webinar, Zoom call today. Give me a call when you get a chance, 949-355-4571.
all right. As far as pricing goes, our mission was always to be able to compete directly with oil-based plastics products. Our belief is that in order to get large-scale change, there's a place for premium, but in the long run, we have to be able to compete on price and performance. So, right now we offer tremendous value because it's a reusable product. Unlike paper straws, they don't get soggy. And so we're over time just working through different markets, and but the big picture is we want to be able to outcompete oil-based plastics head to head. So that's what we've spent a lot of time figuring out how to do.
Great, thank you very much.
And guys, I apologize. I had a very important appointment here at 7:45. I would love to take any questions that anybody has, so please reach out to us. And I would also love to set up a tour through this chapter or any other way. So please do feel absolutely free to reach out to us on our website. Also, you can contact me directly by email, mdh@newlight.com, and I'd love to hear from everybody here. So I wish I could hang out for another hour or two, but I do so much appreciate the time tonight.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, yeah, that you know what, I couldn't be prouder of the chapter putting all this together. I mean, Roberta and Jeff, you're helping doing this. Bill being the AV expert, Tony helping the high schoolers there. The people that are here online, you now know a place where to go and which to buy some of these products that you can then share with your neighbors. This has just been a quality night here. So really appreciate it, everybody.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing further, I think I'll sign
Hi,
off.
Charlie. Hi, everybody. I just want to say really quickly that where Charlie was talking about, that's where I work. I haven't been in this week because I had a cold, but I've tested COVID-free, but I will be in next week from Monday through Friday, 11 to 4. So I chose to just give them away for free. So I've been giving people 10 straw samples, but I have quite a few boxes. So if you want a little bit more than that, that's fine too. But just wanted to say hey and thank you.
Can't be free.
Yeah, that's why I haven't been at work.
Oh, that's okay. It's been open. People have been covering for you, so you're good.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, but
great to see you here tonight, though.
Yeah, you too. Thank you, Charlie.
And if anybody wants to reach out to our Facebook page or through emails to our chair, tell us how you like the evening. If there's anything we could do differently for next time, would love the feedback. But thank you very much, everybody, for being here.
All right.
To everyone.
Marcus.
Everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a great night.
Everyone.
Adios.
Thanks, Casey and Roberta.
Hey, thank you very much. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, Bill, for your video skills.
Bye.